Welcome back to Horrible Ghost Stories. Let's travel back in time to the past. In the northern regions, most villages were located near forests. Traveling between villages was mostly done on foot, and sometimes by riding motorbikes together. On one late, quiet night, Ko and Brown, two close friends, were walking back to their village after a night out with girls from a neighboring village. As they walked and chatted, they suddenly heard the sound of running footsteps from afar. Curious about the sound, they turned around to look. What they saw made them almost unable to believe their eyes. It was a half-human, half-dog creature. The upper body was a red-eyed man, while the lower half was a horse with 4 legs. It ran towards them at high speed, stopped right in front of them, and kicked Ko in the groin, causing him to collapse in pain. Brown, too terrified to react, quickly grabbed some eggs he had and threw them at the creature to distract it. He then rushed to help Ko, who was groaning in pain, and together they fled back to their village as fast as they could. The next morning, Ko and Brown hurried to see Mr. Straw, the village head, and told him about the creature they encountered last night. After describing its appearance, Mr. Straw said, "What you saw was a centaur ghost." The two friends exchanged worried glances. Mr. Straw speculated that the centaur ghost they saw was likely the spirit of Old Jan. When Old Jan was alive, he was a miserly man, never donating or showing kindness to anyone. He lived alone, without a family, because nobody wanted him. After his death, his spirit, filled with envy of happy families, turned into the centaur ghost, haunting people who went out at night, especially those visiting girls like Ko and Brown. Luckily, Brown threw those eggs to distract it. Otherwise, you two might have been dead by now, Mr. Straw said. Brown winced at the mention of eggs. "It's afraid of chicken eggs, right?" he asked. "No," Mr. Straw explained. "The centaur ghost loves raw and bloody things. Back when I was your age, whenever I went out at night, I would carry 10 or more eggs to throw and distract it, preventing it from following me back to the village." Despite their fear, Ko and Brown had another date with the girls from the neighboring village that evening, and they didn't want to miss it. That afternoon, Brown prepared about 10 eggs and put them in his bag. This time, instead of walking, they decided to ride a motorbike. Late into the night, as Brown and Ko sat with the girls near the edge of the forest, they suddenly heard the familiar sound of footsteps, accompanied by a noise that resembled a horse's cry. "Ko, did you hear that?" Brown asked. Ko nodded. Not only they heard it, but the girls did too. Fear started to creep in, and they decided to say their goodbyes and head home. On the way back, Brown sat facing backwards on the motorbike to keep an eye out for the centaur ghost. The old bike's dim headlights barely illuminated the dirt road, and with the cold night air, a thick fog began to descend. Ko, too terrified to focus, accidentally drove into a pothole, nearly causing them to crash. "Drive carefully, Ko. I'm about to fall off," Brown shouted. "I'm doing the best I can," Ko retorted. Just as they argued, Brown saw something emerge from the forest, its red eyes glowing. "It's the centaur ghost! Ko, speed up!" At Brown's shout, Ko twisted the throttle as hard as he could, sending dust flying as the centaur ghost chased them. Brown, in a panic, started throwing eggs at the creature. It paused to lick the eggs, but after finishing them, it resumed its pursuit. Brown kept throwing eggs until he ran out, but the creature kept coming. "Is it still following us?" Ko asked in a panic. Brown glanced back through the fog and saw the ghost closing in. "It's still coming!" he screamed. Ko accelerated again, but just as the ghost was about to reach them, a gunshot rang out, causing the creature to halt and let out a terrifying scream. As Ko sped into the village, he couldn't stop in time, causing the bike to crash, sending both of them tumbling. Despite the pain, fear drove Ko to get up and run toward Mr. Straw and the villagers, who were standing with guns ready. Brown, who had been thrown further, couldn't get up in time. He looked up and saw the centaur ghost standing over him, its red eyes locked on the blood from his scraped leg. The creature's mouth watered as it lifted its front legs, ready to stomp on him. "Fire!" Mr. Straw shouted. The villagers fired at the centaur ghost, trying to hold it off. The bullets didn't harm the ghost, but they managed to slow it down. Enraged, the ghost turned to attack the villagers, but they dodged just in time. Mr. Dot Straw used this moment to rush to Brown and help him to safety. "Quick, get inside the house!" Mr. Dot Straw ordered. Everyone hurried indoors and bolted the doors. That night, the centaur ghost didn't retreat easily. The villagers could still hear its footsteps circling the village until dawn. For 3 nights in a row, the sound of hooves echoed around the village, making everyone too scared to venture out. By morning, the sounds stopped, and no traces of hoofprints were found. The villagers believed it was definitely the work of the centaur ghost. Coe and Brown, having barely survived, vowed never to go out at night again. The villagers remained vigilant, and whenever they had to go out at night, they carried eggs with them. The story of the centaur ghost continued to be told for years. As time passed and development reached the village, with streetlights illuminating the once dark forest, the fear of the centaur ghost gradually faded. No one heard its footsteps haunting the village anymore. That concludes the story of the centaur ghost. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Horrible Ghost Stories so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Thank you for your support.